Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my Team Liquid Valorant rebuild, which honestly is a very interesting rebuild, specifically because this team could go in so many different directions, and I think in real life they definitely did go a different direction than I did here. If you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, even if you don't agree with the moves that I make. If you guys just enjoy the premise of the video or whatnot, then like and subscribe really helps me out. Also, go check out my other rebuilds. I just did BBL for EMEA, and then I'll do another team after this one, obviously, that I will talk about at the end of the video. But regardless, uh, go follow me on Twitter. I am totally just forgetting everything I needed to say, but go follow me on Twitter. That really helps me out. I will tweet about updates of the series as well as any moves that actually go on in real life. Also, go follow me on Twitch. I have been streaming a lot more as of late. I'm probably streaming as you're watching this video, maybe, or maybe like later tonight after this video is uploaded. Actually, that's probably more likely. But yeah, I'm gonna be streaming some Minecraft and stuff. I just bought like a realm for me and my friends to play on, and I've been playing a lot of that. So go check that out. And yeah, I think that's about it. Let's get right into the video. All right, so before we get into the actual roster construction, we need to talk about what happened to this team in 2024, where at the beginning of the year they added Kiko, Enzo, and Mystic, a decent core from Apex that played fairly okay during the 2024 season. Um, I wasn't huge on Kiko and Enzo coming in. I think there were a lot of people that were a lot higher up on them than I was. I know I didn't hate the Enzo IGL, but it definitely wasn't my favorite out of like everybody. But Mystic, I was actually pretty high on, and I thought he was pretty good. Like I thought he would like some of his stylistic stuff on Omen, where he would just like TP into corners and just do random shit. Sometimes I thought could be pretty good at a tier 1 level, but I think he got cut out a little bit more than he normally would in tier 2. But overall, I do think they had a pretty okay year between the three of them. Obviously, EMEA kickoff, they did not look good. Uh, they got grouped by, I think it was Koi and who beat them the other time? Navi, I believe. I think they barely beat Koi, then lost to Navi in like a big comeback, and then lost to Koi. Yeah, they beat Koi, lost to Navi, lost to Koi. Then stage one, they went 3-3, got fifth, sixth at playoffs. I mean, went out and won, and then 1-3 in stage two and missed the stage two playoffs. Now, honestly, looking at these records, they looked further out than they actually felt. Like they were eighth in terms of total standings for EMEA. But honestly, the region all year was just not good. And I think that was a big reason why it felt like Liquid was always in the running for making playoffs. Um, and yeah, I don't know. They just never fully lived up to their potential, in my opinion. As for the goal for this new roster is, I mean, this team has pieces, they have players to build around. So I think the goal should be to compete for one of the top spots, if not the top spot in EMEA in 2025. Now onto the players I'll be removing. We have Kiko and we have Enzo. Now, I think maybe this might seem like confirming my priors in terms of the players that I was lower on coming in. Now at the end of the year I will be removing. But honestly, I just think these two are pretty clearly the players that you have to remove from this team. I think you could argue Mystic as well, honestly, just because like he wasn't as good as I thought he might be coming into the year, honestly. But I really didn't love any of the other smokes options within EMEA, so I just decided to go with Kiko and Enzo to be removed and to keep Mystic for maybe another year, maybe another split or something like that, whatever you really want to call it. Um, but yeah, I think these two are pretty clearly the players that you have to remove from this team. So we'll start with talking a little bit more about Kiko, who was just a player that was way too aggressive at times, maybe like trying to do too much, I think is a better description of what he really was. But he was also just really inconsistent. I think playing that way in terms of just like the trying to do too much kind of led to maybe having some nice games, specifically at the beginning of the year. I remember at kickoff, he was very good. But overall, once you got deeper into the season, it just started to become less and less often that he would have those good games, and more often that he would have those games where you were constantly saying, Kiko, what the hell are you doing, man? But yeah, he was good, but he wasn't as good as some people maybe say he was. Like, I remember there was like people saying that he was like a top 3 duelist in the EMEA during the like middle of the season, and I just never got there with him. And yeah, he's a good player that I think maybe honestly like going to a different team, maybe playing a different role other than duelist. Like I've seen some people say that maybe he should move over to smokes or something like that. And honestly, I wouldn't hate it that much, but also just I don't know. That wouldn't be my favorite thing. I think he should stay on duelist, maybe kind of rein himself in a little bit, but keep those pretty good mechanics and kind of start to become a more like consistent and solid player rather than just kind of playing a little bit selfishly, honestly. And now for Enzo, who I think is definitely like more of a player that I would consider keeping, but he just wasn't a good IGL for this team in terms of just straight up in terms of the calling. I don't think it was good at any point really throughout the year. Um, I think he's a good player in terms of like adding on calling with another IGL, but in terms of just a pure caller, I don't think he's good as a tier 1 player. I think if you brought him down to tier 2, I think he would be one of the better callers down there. But in terms of bringing him up to tier 1, I don't think he's top half, even close to top half in EMEA at all. Now, when they switched over to Nats IGLing, he actually looked pretty good as an individual. So I think that's his real hanging hat is that like if he's that secondary IGL, the guy kind of just playing the initiator, playing the Sova and that kind of stuff, like I think he could be really good at that. But I don't know what the value of that is now rather than getting a player like maybe a Rienz or something like that who can give a lot more fragging, but maybe a little bit less in terms of just like the pure IGLing and calling and that kind of stuff. So he's in kind of a weird spot in terms of like what maybe his value is as a player, but I think there definitely is a place for Enzo on some kind of team. I just don't think it's this team. So now onto the players that we need, or the roles that we need, I guess. We need a duelist, we need a flex or flash initiator, or you could even say a scan initiator if you want Yampi to play the flash initiator. I don't really care either way. But we also need an IGL. I think that is the biggest need for this team. They haven't had one for the longest time. So I think we got to go after a really good one. And so for our available duelists, you have Durka, Pays, and Alive. I'm going to let Durka go in this world as well, just like Fnatic did in real life. Um, for flex players, you have Drain, a Turkish flex player, and Patty Tech, obviously, like just Patty Tech. Um, I didn't, I don't think I've done quite enough scouting into some of the tier 2 EMEA players, so there are definitely guys that I will miss here, and I won't cover super in depth. But in terms of IGLs, you have Illuri, Bold, and Rose, I think are how you pronounce those last two. Rose is the Turkish IGL from Pacific. I think I would pick him up in place of Sushni now that I've actually watched Ascension because I recorded that BBL video a while ago. But also, I think Sushni's pretty good. So I think it's like 55-45 between Rose and Sushni, and I would go Rose being the 55. But yeah, I think all very good options for these roles. But I think for me, there's two pretty clear options for players here, and I don't think anything else is really on the table, honestly. So obviously, for the duelist player, you have Durka, top 2 duelist of all time. He can play anything you really need him to play other than Neon, but honestly, I don't have any doubts that he could play Neon at a high level. His Jet's really good, his Opping's really good, his Raze is really good, his Entering's really good on both roles. His Yoru's gotten a lot better throughout the year. I don't think it was, I think they ran it a little bit at kickoff. and I don't think it was that great. But like once they got into the middle of the season ish, I think was really when Dirk's Yoru started to shine, and it was like extremely good. So yeah, and honestly, don't really need too much explanation here. Dirk is probably the best duelist on the market for any team in any region. And then I think Alluri is probably the most proven option in terms of the IGLs that I listed there. He IGL'd Maus to Ascension with, I don't think, the best team around him. Like, I think he had like Obnox, which I thought he was an okay player. But other than that, I didn't love any of the other talent. Let's see who they have. Yeah, I mean, Zeus was pretty good as well, but I don't think he was like unbelievable either. Like, I thought there were definitely better duelists at Ascension. But I think he just generally gave the team pretty good calling, pretty good mid rounding. It was pretty. I don't think it was like too structured, but it was pretty structured, like enough for a tier two team at least. So you'd want him to improve a little bit. Um, but he also played some wacky comps in there too, which I think is actually a sign that a team and a IGL is really good in tier two specifically, because like they're not playing bad comps, but they're playing ones that are maybe a little bit different from your normal comps. Like I don't know, teams like M80 will do that, or they're playing like this Yoru on Sunset and stuff like that. They play different like off meta stuff that they can't just copy top teams for. Like for Maus and Illyri, they played like a Yoru solo duelist on Lotus, just with like the normal Breach Fade Cypher Omen. And then on Bind, they played like double controller Clove Omen, which I mean are very different from your normal comps. So I think he has some really good potential here, and I think he's a really nice individual in terms of just like specifically clutching. I think is what he's really good at when he's like in the normal like mid round, maybe he's not the best individual, but I do think he's actually pretty solid and should offer this team some good firepower from this role, which I think is very important. Also, just a fun thing, he, Yampi, and Durka are all Finnish, which I think is kind of cool. Um, I that was the main reason I picked him up specifically for Liquid, but I think he would have been in one of my franchising teams regardless. So I do think that's a fun little note at the end there. So our final roster will look something like this. You got Durka, Illyri, Yampi, Mystic, and Nats. Now, I didn't talk too much about Yampi, Mystic, and Nats. I mean, I did talk quite a bit about Mystic, actually. But for Yampi, I think he's incredible. I think if he was on literally any better team, he would get way, way more attention than he actually does. I think his Sky is genuinely one of his best agents. I think, I don't know, like his Viper's really good, his Sova's really good, his KO's really good. He can play pretty much any kind of initiator. I don't remember his Breach being super good, but Illyri can play that. Um, Mystic, I've talked quite a bit about. I thought he was pretty solid for this team last year, but I don't like any of the other. I didn't like any of the other smokes options that much, so I decided to stick with him. And then Nats staying on Sentinel on this team, like you're not gonna cut Nats, man. Let's be so honest, that's not happening. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this roster in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one for my actually, what team was I even gonna do? I gotta pull up the calendar now. I totally should have prepped that. I have a calendar set for like when I'm uploading each video. Navi will be the next team. Oh wait, I was gonna do Navi and then Liquid. Oopsies. Well, Navi will be the next team regardless. So, uh, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Go check out my Twitch. Go check out my Twitter. And both links in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.